13-2, but had a really tough game against the Snappers, only winning that one 7-4. Some of the players to look out for on the Jammers. He played terrible the last couple of weeks, but Sully Sean Sullivan finished with 10 goals, 11 assists for 21 points. He had a couple of hat tricks and a game-winning goal. Ivan Diaz played well, too, 19 points. He also had a hat trick and a game-winning goal. As I mentioned, Liam was on the team for most of the season before being traded at 16 points. Jordan Smith, he's kind of the leader of that team, the fall leader of that team, we should say. He had 15 points. Cam Brusso, new guy, 6-6 for 12 points. 3 game-winning goals, though. That's the key right there for Cam. He managed to score at key times. Doesn't score much. He doesn't back check. Doesn't pass well. But he gets the game-winning goal. It's unbelievable. Joe Estrella had 12 points. A new guy, Kevin Rice, and Evan Crawford jumped in on the team, rounding out the Jammers there. And their goalie, Rob McHugh, will be there this weekend. So the Jammers at 1 o'clock will take on the winner of the Flying Squirrels and the Snappers, a wild card game. Then to finish off the day, it's a rare 2 o'clock game because what we need to do is get 6 games in to whittle the teams down from 10 to 4, because otherwise somebody would have to play 3 games on the second week of the playoffs, and that's just not right, not going to happen. So last time we tried at 8 o'clock to do the playoff games, and neither goalie showed up at 8 o'clock, so we learned we won't do 8 o'clock again, at least not for a one-time thing. So the decision was to go to a 2 o'clock game, and this was discussed at the captain's meeting before the season to go to a 2 o'clock game. So we got the Diggers and the Pelicans, and they played once this season with the Diggers taking that game 9-3. Looking at the Diggers, Ryan Burge, we talked about him earlier, new guy, kind of an unknown, coming in, scoring 19 goals, 4 assists, 23 points, 4 hat tricks, a game-winning goal that was in overtime, an empty netter. You got it. He's got stats everywhere, this guy. So congrats on Ryan Burge, the new guy leading the Diggers in scoring. Right behind him, CJ Cacciatore, stepping it up, although he didn't do much when he played against me. Doubt. But CJ, 22 points, tied with Joe Duffy, who has 22 points as well. Then at the considerable drop-off, down to guys like Jeremy Gallagher and John Suey and Jeremy Socher and guys like that. Another new guy in the team, Brendan Downey, chipped in with a couple of assists as well. And Jay Sopp in the net, playing well. So we'll see if Soppy shows up for the 2 o'clock game for the Diggers. And their opponents, we take a look at the Pelicans. They went through a couple of goalies this year. Right now, Tyler Evangelista is playing net for them. Actually, Tyler picked up a point this season playing net. So I think he made a pass up to somebody who went down and scored a goal. But guys to look out for on the Pelicans, Mike Caggiano, after a tough opening few weeks, managed to get on his feet and pick up 23 points to lead the team. Josh Heavern right behind him with 21 points. And they basically led the team, and then it drops down to Kyle Jenkins, Dave Missouri, and actually new guy Liam Spanicki's on the team. Lee coming over from the Jammers for the Pelicans. Picked up 7 points in only a couple of games, so good for him. Rounding out the team, the new guy Tommy, Mike Callahan, and Young Pack on there as well. Nate Snow was on the team, and he ended up getting traded to the Barons, which I think he's played 1 game with the Barons. But so anyway, so that's the matchup between the Pelicans and the Diggers. Where's my sound effect? I do want to jump back real quick to the opening game. I didn't go over the teams in the opening game at 9 o'clock, which was the Jackets and the Muck Dogs. I kind of glossed over that, so I want to go back and hit that real quick, the opening up the day. Matt Mahoney led the Green Jackets with 23 points. He had 1 hat trick this season. Kevin McGovern, who missed a bunch of games but still finished in second in scoring on the team with 15 points. And Jeremy Russell, who played net last season and actually skated out and did a fine job of skating out. In fact, I played against him a couple of times this season, and we were going goal for goal and pass for pass and mucking it up in front of the net. I had a lot of fun playing against Jeremy. So he's a decent forward as well. He is a decent goalie. 14 points again for the Jackets. E11 finished with 13 points. And Mark Docklian, a disappointment this season, as were all the Kellys. If your name was Kelly, you were a disappointment this season along with Docklian. So maybe he became part of the Kelly family. Not really sure. But Docklian only had 8 points all season long tough for him. Dan Kelly had a couple of goals. Still waiting for him. Maybe he's waiting for the playoffs to get that half-court flipper in that he usually scores on. So there's your Jackets. Dan Tracy is in net for the Jackets, and he will go up against, for the Muck Dogs, against Stephen Mills. So we get Tracy against Mills to kick off the day. And again, last time they played, the Jackets would have won this one 13-10 over the Muck Dogs. Muck Dogs forwards to look out for Woody and Hafer, the 1-2 combination. Quiggy finished with 26 points. And then we had a little drop-off going back to some of the defensemen, Eric Benoit. I'm not sure how he pronounces that. I'll have to check with Eric. Ben Corman, who's missed a couple of games. Benny usually doesn't miss games. Hopefully he'll be back for the playoffs. And then back on D also was Courtney Brown playing very well. And Brian Xavier, after last year with the team rush, losing in the finals, he gets another crack at it with the Muck Dogs as he avoids the wild card game this year, playing with the Muck Dogs. And then rounding out the team is Adam Blacker. So as we kind of finish out the playoff preview, going back to the 9 a.m. game and taking a look at that. Well, that's going to basically wrap things up here as we take a look at the playoff format. We take a look at the matchups a little bit more in depth. The upcoming schedule for Saturdays, obviously this Saturday, the 20th, we do have the playoffs. Then the 27th we're off. That's the Steve Lambert Memorial Tournament down in Connecticut that we do with our friends from Connecticut. I know a bunch of guys from the EMRHL are headed down there, so we're taking that weekend off so there's no conflict. We are scrimmaging. I will be there to run the scrimmage. I might head down to Connecticut after the scrimmages, or I might head down to Connecticut on Sunday morning. I'm not sure. But we will have scrimmages on September 27th, one at 9, one at 10:30. If you want to get in, let us know. Again, space is limited to 8-on-8 and a couple of goalies. But we will be skating on the 27th. Then we're back October 4th with the final 4 teams playing at 9, 10, and 11 o'clock. We'll probably scrimmage at noon on that day, too, because I know some of the guys are going to want to skate after the finals on that day. And then it depends how it goes. I don't know if we're going to scrimmage on the 11th or if we're going to start the season on October 11th. I guess we're going to play that by ear, seeing how fast the teams come together, what the player situation looks like, what the goalie situation looks like. Excuse me. So as we get closer to the finals on October 4th, we'll have a better idea if the season will start on the 11th or the 18th. But in any case, we're basically skating every Saturday through Thanksgiving, and then that's when we'll probably have the Burn the Bird tournament on Thanksgiving. One other quick note here. Let me hit a sound effect, and we'll get our final quick note before we sign off. Just kind of reiterating the whole goaltender interference thing that come up again on Tuesday, and we actually set up a referees group on Facebook that we've been chatting with the Tuesday refs, just kind of clarifying some things. You can't run into the goalie ever. Now, I put ever in quotation marks, okay? The idea is to protect the goalies. If the goalie is in the act of playing net, if he goes down to block a shot, or if he's on the ground, or even if he's standing up, and you skate into him, that is, I'm telling the referees to make that an automatic penalty. It's automatic. If you crash into a goalie, it's automatic 2 minutes goaltender interference. We had an issue on Tuesday where a guy came in, skated around the goalie, and tucked it in, and then crashed into him. Now, the ball was in the net before he crashed into him, so the goal counts, but the player picked up a 2-minute minor for crashing into the goalie. So the idea is we don't want you crashing into the goalie. The only time it would not be a penalty on the offending player is if he was pushed in. If a defenseman or somebody on the goaltender's own team pushes somebody into the goalie, then the penalty's on the defenseman. So anytime there's a collision with a goalie, there should be either a goaltender interference call or an interference call or a roughing call on the other guy. We need to protect the goalies. The only time there wouldn't be any penalty is if the goalie jumped into the path of the player. And again, it's a gray area, and I don't have a clear-cut answer. But if the goalie drops to the butterfly to make the save, he's got to be protected. If the goalie jumps out in front of a player coming across the net, now that's different because the goalie has now impeded the player's progress where the player wouldn't have hit the goalie if he was playing goal in his crease or around the crease. So, again, I'm just trying to clarify, stay away from the net. If you're cutting in down the wing and you cut to the net and the defenseman cuts off your angle, that doesn't matter. You still can't run into the goal. You got to go behind the net. Because some guys are saying, well, I tried to cut in front and the defenseman cut me off. That's too bad. You know, the defenseman can stand in front of the net. If you still run into the goalie and no one touches you, that's a call. So again, a goal can be scored on the play provided the ball's in clearly before the collision. But the idea is we want to protect the goalies. So that wraps up the Saturday playoff preview. We took a look back a little bit at the Saturday season, said hello to a few of the new guys, and took a look at what's coming up on Saturday. And hopefully next week we'll have a Tuesday show, and maybe we'll wrap up some of the scores from the Saturday playoff games. All right, Dave Goddard from EMRHL. Visit our website, emrhl.com. On Facebook and Twitter, it's EMRHL, and we'll hope to see you at the rink.